Animals in that setting with little Toby was very calm, he's chilled out, sitting on my lap, and I'm just stroking him. And so his calmness has that co-regulation. And what that does is it increases your hormones like oxytocin, which is that cuddle hormone, that connection, that bonding hormone. Hello and welcome back. Now, if you're new to the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. So whenever I release an episode, you find out very quickly. Also, if you're not aware, I do have a TEDx talk, which I'd love you to watch. So if you go to YouTube and you put in the search bar, TEDx Heidi Hadley, you will see my TEDx talk. And in that talk, I'm talking around the subject of pandiculation, which is everything that I teach within Total Somatics. So please check that out and leave me a comment and a like and share it with anyone else that you know will also be interested with that subject. Now, today we're going to talk about co-regulation and how, again, regulating our nervous system. So what I want to do is, before we go into that, and there's a reason why I've chosen this subject, for many reasons that all tie in together, is that first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for all your beautiful comments and messages. We went back to England and my dad's day went off very well. The weather was perfect. The venue was lovely. It was like a converted barn, and it was on a dairy farm. So it was this beautiful open space, lovely hills. You could see all the countryside. It was a dairy farm. So there was those lovely smells of nature. And as I said to several people, that lovely smell of manure, which might sound a bit strange, but it's very distinctive. And I love it because it takes us back to our childhood in the countryside and enjoying all the wildlife. So it was lovely smells of nature, open space, wildlife. It was lovely, and the beautiful blue skies. So it couldn't have been a better day, really. It was lovely like that. So because of that, because of everything and everyone's lovely comments, because of a combination of what's happened recently, and also hearing from many of you beautiful, very personal stories, your comments, I just thought maybe as we approach the month of May, together we could do this practice together. Now, every year I hold the theme Mindful in May, but some years it just hits you more than others, doesn't it? And I thought this is the year where I'm always doing this, but it means even more so. And hearing some very personal, deep stories from many of you, and how we can really work together on Mindful in May for this year. And so this is whereby every year in Mindful in May, I produce product like content for you so that we can work together on how we can regulate our nervous system. And also I've produced, and I'll just show them here, but obviously you'll get them available each week. I've created each week some cues and some home care techniques that we can do to really deepen our practice. So each week you're going to receive one of those products. It's a PDF, so you can either download it to your phone, to your tablet, or you can print it off and stick it on the wall. So you have an attachment there that will provide the practices, and I'll be developing each week how we can develop these different levels of mindfulness to regulate our nervous system. So again, if you're subscribed to the Total Somatics YouTube channel, you will automatically get this episode, the next few episodes. And if you scroll down to the show notes, which are the writing underneath the video, you will see that you have the opportunity to download it there. If you're listening to this on the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast channel, also have a look at the notes or the show notes below the episode. You'll have an opportunity to also download that PDF in that situation too. So that's for every episode in May in the series called Mindful in May. But what I'd like to do today is share with you how we can regulate our nervous system when we have large amounts of pressure and stress happening in our life. Because again, in the next few weeks, I will dissect in greater detail this subject so that you have proactive techniques and skills that you can work with. But today, what I'd really love us to look at is the subject of co-regulation. Now, co-regulation is so important for us to consider because as humans, we thrive on connection to animals, to nature, and to other human beings too. And we all experienced a level of dysregulation a few years ago with our nervous system during this global pandemic that we had in the year 2020 and those few years following. But especially at the height of it in 2020, when people were kind of disconnected, like in person, people couldn't see each other. That really highlighted how, as human beings, we need that connection. We need that for co-regulation. We thrive on being a community or a tribe. That's how we really do connect. And so you'll know from many of my podcasts that I'm always referring to things such as the brain or neural synapses. And this is where our nerve cells can communicate and they connect with each other with electrical and chemical messages. And they create these new wires, these new pathways in our brain for habits and behaviors and rituals. But did you know that as humans, we actually have social synapses, as it were? Because what happens is when you get two people in close proximity and their bodies don't actually have to be touching, connecting, it's actually the same as with a brain cell. They don't actually be connecting as such. But as soon as you get two people close together, their bodies are communicating directly and continuously with each other, even though they're not touching. There's a lot of sensory information because remember, we are more sensory than motor. There's a lot of subconscious, unconscious, sensory, non-verbal stuff that's happening. And so the majority of the way that we as humans communicate is through unseen signals. These unseen signals can be through electrical, biochemical, hormonal, pheromones. You know, people have heard of those expressions often, electromagnetic, and nerve pulses. So you see, it's all very much not just the physical touch, but it's all the other energetic aspects too. And all of this influences our nervous system regulation. So can you see now why connection, and that's my word for the year actually, connection is crucial because it's very much part of regulating our nervous system. When our nervous system detects either safety or danger, it will respond accordingly. And I'd like to share with you some ways that we can regulate our nervous system with co-regulation that I've actually been using myself over the last few weeks since things happened with my dad. So I want to just share those with you. But obviously, in the next few weeks, take what I'm going to share with you today and add that onto the cues and the techniques that we'll be doing for Mindful in May. So, first of all, what I want to share with you is when things happen, really awful things happen, we might not want to talk about things because of the sadness, and everybody's different. Some people want to talk, other people just want to be quiet and on their own. And that's how I was. I'd rather just be on my own, just with my husband, and that was it. So you just want to be quiet. But in that situation, there's a co-regulation happening between me and my husband. He doesn't have to say anything, he's just there as support, wonderful support he is as well. However, what really I found very powerful is just to sit in nature. And remember, that's a form of co-regulation. That's helping to calm and soothe our nervous system. And there'll be times where a lot of tears, a lot of sadness comes out. And it comes, as my brother said, it comes in waves. And that does happen. So when that happens, we just allow that to come out because that's part of that release. But part of the release comes allowing there to be a soothing and a calming afterwards. And that's where sitting in my garden, listening to the parrots and watching if there's little butterflies around, just watching the birds and listening, just watching nature has been really, really powerful. And added to that, sitting in the garden or wherever else you find it's beneficial for you, breathing deeply and breathing slowly and allowing my eyes just to have a gentle gaze, not being intense, not staring at one tree, just noticing, letting my eyes just move around and allowing that to be part of that self-soothing and that calming. And again, if you keep your gaze soft and again just gentle, it changes you away from the stress response, which is when you have, that real deep, have you ever seen people, and you may have had it, that real deep intensity in their eyes, really intense, and they're very focused on something, or again, they'll be really intense on their focus on a particular aspect, I don't know, whatever they're looking at. that is mirroring the survival stress response. Because if we were in danger, your eyes would be incredibly rigid and tense, focusing on that impending danger. Maybe it's something a predator running towards you. So you're watching that really intense. So what we're doing is switching the state of our nervous system by keeping our focus and our gaze very gentle and very soft. So instead of being deeply intense on one thing, we're just letting our eyes gently float and focus on different things at a time, but just enough to notice, like that colourful bird in the tree or that beautiful butterfly fluttering around, whatever it would be, just enough that you notice it, but without being too intense. And then also, it could be if you've got a pet, and again, wildlife. It's lovely where we are. We've got lots of wildlife here. It could be that you're just watching the wildlife visiting your garden or on your balcony, as the little birds arrive. Or maybe you've got a pet. So it's that interaction which is really calming. So, for instance, when we went back to England, my brother and sister-in-law have a cute little dog called Toby, and he's a cross with a Jack Russell and a pug, and he's ever so cute. And so he come and sit on your lap, and you just stroke him. And when you're stroking and a pet like that, or you might be brushing them, or you're lying next to them, giving them a little cuddle. All of those things, it's incredibly calming for your nervous system, and their energy. What they're giving off to you, you're picking up, and that's a form of co-regulation. Animals in that setting with little Toby was very calm, he's chilled out, sitting on my lap, and I'm just stroking him. And so his calmness has that co-regulation. And what that does is it increases your hormones like oxytocin, which is that cuddle hormone, that connection, that bonding hormone. So again, when you have more oxytocin, it is very calming and nurturing for your nervous system. So you can see the interaction either with another person, in nature, with a pet, or just wildlife. So we've got near us somewhere where there's lots of kangaroos, and we just walk around and we'll sit sometimes just on a little bit of a trunk of a tree that's collapsed on the floor. We'll sit on there and we'll just sit around the kangaroos, and they're just grazing or relaxing on the ground. And there's that co-regulation, that calming. We're in nature with the birds, and the kangaroos are very chilled out and relaxed with us. So again, that's another form of co-regulation. But also bringing that's a few cues, but maybe on a daily basis as well. It could be that when you're walking, and I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, when you're walking along, sometimes you see the same few people, don't you? If you've got your daily walk, or you're on the way to work, or wherever you're going. And if you see those people, just giving them a smile or a greeting is really important. Again, it's that connection, that co-regulation. It's really important, not only because we use less muscles, it's less tension on our face when we smile, but it's part of that connection, that co-regulation, part of being in that community. But also, when you smile at someone, it's like a hug from afar. We don't know people that well if we just walk past them in the street, but when we give them a smile, it's an acknowledgement. It's that kind gesture, and we don't know what's going on in their life. So likewise, we could be going through a lot of stress, a lot of angst in our life, but giving them a smile and they smiling back at us, it just lifts their mood as well as our mood. And we've got our things going on, but everybody's got something going on. So when we just show that love and that affection to other people with a smile and a greeting, it just lifts other people too. So you can see that co-regulation and that community connection and cohesion. It's so important. And also something else which works wonderful, and this is what my husband and I did a lot back over when we were in England visiting our families, and then when we've come back here, is when you just go for a walk. And again, with friends, I've done this as well. You go for a walk. It's a very active, upbuilding, positive conversation. So when you're walking, it's really good for your nervous system. It's much more efficient than sitting often as well, because when you're walking, you're releasing and discharging a lot of that tension within your body. You're talking. You often find that you can shift the state of your nervous system much quicker when you're moving your body and breaking that stagnant, or that stagnation and that rigidity in your body. So the walking, shifting and changing your breathing as you walk, bilateral eye movement. So your eyes are moving from side to side, up and down, all around. And that's allowing for a processing of your nervous system. Really, really important, that bilateral eye movement. That is happening too. We are noticing the natural, it could be salty air, it could be the smell of eucalyptus trees, the flowers, wherever you are in the world, the smells that are in your area, you'll be able to smell those when you're in more of that active, upbuilding, positive, shifting your nervous system into a much more positive, proactive state. All of that are huge co-regulation strategies. And that again is human connection, movement, nature. It's huge. So it may be that you love having people around for a nice cup of tea, and having a chat, that sort of thing. But maybe you could shift it to being outside where you can do that. Or if it's a freezing cold day, maybe it's sitting indoors, but having great view of nature and the outside world. So you're just bringing some of the light inside, but keeping warm in the house. And if you have that ability with your body and your joints to be able to do a bit of a walk, even if it's just a few steps up and down the garden, just doing that, having a bit of a chat, sitting down, watching the birds, going for another little bit of a walk around. But remembering that the walking is a really good way to shift and release lots of tension and tightness that we can hold in our body. We can discharge that, but also it shifts our breathing and our heart rate. So it allows, again, for that variability and that flexibility within our nervous system too. So there's been quite a few things there to share with you today. But as I finish off today, what I want to share with you is that mindful in May is a really important thing for us to consider, and we can do it together as well in this situation. But if you either subscribe to the YouTube channel or Total Somatics YouTube channel or the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast, you'll get all the episodes with the resources. However, what I want to share with you that if you go to totalsomatics.com/May, what you'll be able to do there is just put your details in there, and then each week you will receive your newsletter, and within that newsletter you will have the video and you'll also have a PDF copy. So this is what I've created here. So that PDF copy, you can either print it out, stick it on your wall, or you could download it to your phone or your device or wherever you have that. So it just makes it a bit more convenient for you too. So it's all in one place. So that's totalsomatics.com/May, as in the month of May. And on that page, you can leave your email address and then everything will be sent to you there. So you'll get the YouTube video and you'll get your PDF download. So it's all nice and compact, and you'll get that each week. So I look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll start all our wonderful skills and techniques together as we really embrace the second half of the year and recalibrate after what could have been a little bit of a tricky first half of the year. But you know what? It's all life lessons, and we grow and we get stronger from it. So there's always a good side that we can look onto these things. So anyway, I'm going to send all my love and all my very best wishes, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.